It was the beginning of another ordinary school day at Oakwood High, a typical suburban high school where students rushed through the hallways, chatting, laughing, and dreading the upcoming tests. Among them was 16-year-old Sophie, a quiet girl who never sought attention and preferred to keep to herself. But today was different. Something in the air felt off, like an invisible thread of tension running through the school, unnoticed by most. It all started with a single announcement over the loudspeaker. "We are going into lockdown. Please stay in your classrooms and follow all instructions. This is not a drill." At first, the students were confused. Lockdowns were rare, and they had never experienced one this sudden, with no warning or explanation. Sophie felt her pulse quicken as she glanced nervously at her classmates. The usual buzz of conversation faded into an uneasy silence. "Lock the doors, turn off the lights, hide under your desks," the teacher, Mr. Carter, instructed, his voice trembling slightly. His hands shook as he locked the classroom door. Sophie's heart raced. She had heard of school shootings, but she never thought it would happen here. Not at Oakwood High. The school seemed too quiet, too small for something like that to happen. "Why are we in lockdown?" one of her classmates, Jake, whispered from across the room. Mr. Carter didn't answer right away. His gaze shifted nervously toward the window, and Sophie caught a glimpse of his pale face in the dim light. He was sweating, and his hands trembled as he closed the blinds. There was something in his expression that unsettled her. Was it fear or something else? A loud banging sound echoed through the hallway, followed by a series of rapid footsteps. Sophie's heart skipped a beat, and she froze, holding her breath. The noise was close, too close. It seemed to be moving closer to their classroom, growing louder with each passing second. "Stay quiet," Mr. Carter whispered urgently, his eyes wide with fear. "No matter what you hear, stay hidden." The lights flickered, and the school's emergency sirens began to blare. Sophie's thoughts raced. What was happening? Was it a threat? Was someone in the building? Her body tensed as she tried to make sense of it all. Outside the classroom, the sounds of running footsteps and muffled voices grew louder, followed by a chilling silence. The air in the room felt heavy, suffocating. Sophie glanced around at her classmates, who were all crouched under their desks, staring at each other with wide, fearful eyes. Even the brave ones, like Jake, who usually cracked jokes to ease tension, remained silent, his face pale and tense. Then came the whisper. It was faint at first, barely a breath, but Sophie heard it. "Help me!" Her stomach dropped as the voice echoed down the hall. It was faint and distorted, as if coming from someone who wasn't entirely human. Sophie's blood ran cold. Who was it? Where was it coming from? The voice sounded like it was pleading, but it wasn't quite right, as if it was wrong. Suddenly, the door handle rattled. The entire classroom froze. Mr. Carter's hand shot out to grip the nearest desk, and for a moment, he looked like he might faint. But then, he regained control, his eyes locking onto Sophie's. His mouth moved, but no words came out. He was signaling for them to stay quiet, to not move. Sophie's pulse quickened as she heard the voice again, closer this time. It wasn't a child's voice, nor was it an adult's. It was like a distorted mix of both, too soft, too eerie. "Let me in. Please, I don't want to die." Her breath caught in her throat. Who could be out there? Was it a prank? No. Something in Sophie's gut told her it wasn't. The desperation in the voice felt far too real, too chilling to be an act. And then another sound broke the silence. A low, guttural growl, like something unnatural. At that moment, the lights went out completely. Darkness enveloped the room, and Sophie could hear her classmates' soft breathing, their muffled whispers. Her mind raced, but she couldn't make sense of what was happening. The footsteps outside the classroom grew louder again, but this time, They weren't running. They were slow, deliberate, like someone or something was walking toward them. Sophie's hand trembled as she reached for her phone, but when she turned it on, it only displayed a message: no service. Her throat tightened. Whatever was going on, it was beyond her control. Her instincts screamed at her to get up and run, but her body wouldn't obey. The door handle rattled again, more violently this time, but it didn't stop. It kept rattling, shaking as if someone or something was trying to get in. Sophie felt a cold sweat dripping down her back. The voice outside, muffled through the door, whispered once again, "Help me. Let me in."